Hello, and welcome to part 2 of how to play Fantasy Cubing. Hopefully you've all watched part 1. If not, you should watch that first. In this video, I will tell you how to make your picks and get good scores. In order to choose people who will get good scores, there are some things to explain. Firstly, you need to know who is competing that week. If someone isn't competing that week, they won't score any points. In the previous video, I showed you 2 examples of making picks. However, next week I'm not competing, so my 2x2 pick is not going to score me any points, and I haven't even checked whether Giaius is competing or not. The majority of competitions use WCA registration now, so you can look at the lists of competitors on the website. For example, this weekend there's a competition in the Philippines. We can see the list of competitors here and the events they are participating in. They also have psych sheets on the left here, so you can see who has the best personal best times at that competition. Other competitions use their own sites for registration, such as Cubing USA or Cubing China, so you'll have to use those too. To make your job easier, Robert Yao and I put together a Google Sheet that contains links to the registration lists each week. For Season 2, we'll be starting a new document, but I will post that in the description soon. The scoring system is obviously a big part of Fantasy Cubing. You need to know how people will score points in order to make a good pick. The formula is based on Kinch scores, which are used for Kinch ranks, if you're aware of those. A useful place to go to look at the scoring system is in the How to Play document. You can find this on the official Fantasy Cubing website. There is an Appendix A, which details the calculation for scoring. At first, the formula looks very complicated, but I will try to explain it to you now. If you concentrate first on the XAVG and XSNG, which appear many times in the formula, these correspond to your pick's average and their best single in the round. If you then look at this left-hand side with the W's, the WAVG is the world record average, WSNG the world record single. You might recognize these fractions as being Kinch scores, so you take the world record average and divide by your pick's average, likewise with the single. These fractions all produce numbers between 0 and 1, unless of course your person has broken the world record. Now you do a similar thing for the continental record and the national record that corresponds to your pick. Once you have all of these fractions, you take the average of them. This will get you a number between 0 and 1, of course, but in the end we do 100 times the answer and we get a number between 0 and 100, and that will be their score for the round. If you want to think about it in a more simple way, then basically the better your pick does compared to the world record, the continental record and the national record, then the better their score will be at the end. Although I gave you the formula for each round, I didn't explain what happens when there are multiple rounds of an event. It's all very simple really. You just take the average of their scores within each round in the competition, and this will be their final score. Of course, in order to use this formula, you must first be able to predict what times your cuber will be achieving. You can do this using the psych sheets I mentioned earlier, or by looking at their WCA profile to see all their past results. Once you have their predicted times, you can use the formula to project their fantasy score. If you don't want to develop your own tool to help you do this part, you can use a tool that Alex Mas released for everyone to use, which is linked in the description and you can see here. It has basic functionality and doesn't quite work for all events, but it should be of some use to you. Of course, some of us use our own home-built tools, and you should be encouraged to do so as well. To use this particular tool, you can put in an event code, a country, and a predicted time, and it will tell you how many points they're scoring. So thanks for watching, and do move on to the next part, where I will tell you how to get involved in the fantasy community, making the game much more sociable and fun.